mark these words of this interview. I'm going to run shit. Right? Here's another. I got a lot of thoughts I thought about in the past 2 weeks. Another thing is like money. The ultimate power is position. It's not money, it's position, because someone in between or at a higher position could determine your fate, and they could have way less money. So when I made that joke about you work at Universal, I could do that because I'm no longer at Universal. So you're no longer the executive that can talk to me like I'm not me. I don't work for you no more. But I honestly believe that Gap and Adidas are part of a bigger plan to marginalize American companies and American industry, which is the opposite of what Danny's doing. And that's why you see this glow coming from me. Because in this prison of finger pointing and name calling, a little crack of light, a little Shawshank Redemption came through that prison cell at that factory today. Now we rocking with Ye.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I am so inspired by you, and you know, the inspiration that you've had in Aloe. You know, your street sense, your street vibe, and we were talking a lot about that today. And for him, you know, to take the time out and come down and see what we're doing, and then him telling me that our manufacturing and our excellence and our efficiencies were inspiring him. I mean, what a compliment. And we were trying to define, like, how would we call this excellence? What would it be? And we established this is the Ye of manufacturing.
Oh, sick. I love that.
That's the highest compliment. I mean, under God is for me to say it's the Ye version. Because
So
only
good.
God can have the God version. But right underneath that, it's the Ye version.
So good. But we talk about Aloe being a badge, and that it means when you're wearing it, it stands for something. It's
Absolutely.
what you were talking about. And, you know, Danny, when we started doing this a long time ago, you told me what it stood for almost 10 years ago. You had the vision of mind, body, wellness, and of bringing, you know, mental peace to people and through movement and mindfulness. And
Well, thank you. And of course, I mean, team effort, you know, props to you and to so many others, you know, that helped actualize, you know, that vision. I mean, even
I love the word actualize. That's like Donda language instead of execute.
right?
What's a more forward,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
And collaborative, but, you know, even today, walking around with Ye and him being blown away with what we have built. I mean, you know, at the very, very beginning, it started just with two guys in a bedroom having a big vision. And, you know, Marco DeGeorge, you know, my business partner, and building and inspiring these incredible teams to actualize these extraordinary goals. And, you know, one thing that I was speaking with Ye about today is...
You see that rhymed?
yay today.
I was telling him that I've read a book at least 100 times. And basically the meaning of the book is that if you believe you can, then you can. But if you believe you can't, then you can't.
There's two people. The man who thinks they can and the man who thinks they can't. And they're both right.
That's right.
That's what you were saying, but that was like a simplified version.
Yeah. The one who wins the race is the one who believes they can. The oak lies in the acorn. And Ye was telling me that he hasn't read this book, but I was telling him that every positive attribute he naturally embodies. And that's extraordinary, you know, to have that confidence, you know, from being such a young kid and going out there and inspiring and having this vision and actualizing it is extraordinary.
Also, when you said I hadn't read this book, I actually haven't read any book. Reading is like eating Brussels sprouts for me, and talking is like getting the Giorgio Baldi corn ravioli.
Yeah.
like a good conversation is Mike Howe, that invented the ripsaw with his brother Jeff Howe, was saying that when his mom texts him like long paragraphs, he reads the first sentence and the last sentence. This person and his brother invented the fastest track vehicle. They put it in G.I. Joe. They have government contracts. This guy is a full-on engineer, works with all geniuses, and for practical, not opinionated, practical technologies. And he only reads the first sentence and the last. And what do you think my response was? Same.
Myself, I just went through high school. I started this company with my best friend, when we were teenagers. And 30 years later, here we are. It's pretty incredible.
How did you hold on to that relationship? How did you guys last 30 years?
I think, one, love. I love him, right? And then two, respect. And three, we have the same vision. We believe the same things. And there have been ups and downs, of course. It's a relationship. But we always come back together because we believe in the same thing. And we don't do things just for money. A lot of businesses do. They are just for profit. That is not us at all.
So Danny really loves the logo for the Donda Doves. And he's just looking at it. He's like, that's it. And I'm existing in this like outside of time and space, 2,000 years from now situation where we had this one moment earlier where he asked me about the fabrics and I didn't even have to say a word. We literally just were like communicating with like a head nod, like straight Jedi. That was the one moment that showed where we'll get to, where our great-great-grandkids or our kids and our grandkids will get to that level of language, because the Tower of Babylon, English, the idea of having to speak correct English, like you're not going to respect what I'm saying, even though you know what I'm saying, unless I'm speaking correct English. Well, that's like a version of every time I'm talking, I'm getting pulled over and having to do a alcohol test, walking down a yellow line with my finger on my nose, and while I want to express myself. And I've seen like kids express themselves and they just want to cry, and someone will say, use your words.
Right.
But what if they want to cry? Because we were given that form of expression, and people hold that in. I had a friend that you never saw him break a sweat until we were at his funeral.
Wow.
And that was the head of Louis Vuitton, Virgil Abloh. We never saw him break a sweat until we were at his funeral.
Wow.
So people down expression. And I'm saying be expressive. I'm showing, let's be expressive. Now we talk about language. What I did realize is sometimes it's not that I'm not right. Wait for it. Watch it. I got a good one. Here we go. Sometimes I'm just not right now. It's not right now. It's not
That's
that
right.
You're not right. It's just not right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
You're too ahead of us. Hey, you're too ahead of us.
And I have to like be here, because that's not a good thing to be too ahead, because what do you do then? You lose the audience.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I've got this technique, this Instagram ideation thing where I just start channeling. I think all the jokes myself. I cut and paste memes and everything myself. I put animated things up. I just take my whole operations and we start doing stuff, and it just like flows. And this is like my kind of third or fourth one or something. And have you ever like heard Amy Winehouse's first album versus the one she was doing later? She was still her, but then like this kind of past weekend, now all of a sudden everyone's starting to love Amy Winehouse. They didn't understand that super skinny girl with all those tattoos and, that voice.
Right.
So they didn't understand me as a Brand Jordan, as a rapper, as the Black Brad Pitt, the Black Leo. No, I'm
Yes.
So, and it's so many people that every person I bump into is like, yo, I want to do that so bad. I want to put some people up there, because that's another thing. It's like, if people knew that they couldn't, people only do what they can get away with.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bunch of people thinking they could get away with stuff. And that's why I was like, yo, maybe my reputation's not bad enough. If you feel like you can get away with that.
Right.
But let's talk about language, the dove. What I realized is right now, the dove is like us speaking. Like we'll look back at this and it'll sound like we're like, here, see, like this is going like, and at the rate with guys like me and you connected, at the rate we're going to go in evolving humanity, because there's certain, just throughout time, humanity can literally sit in one place. Even to change the term from humanity to the species, to evolve our species is in the right direction. There's one thing I would do. I would play this dictionary game. Okay, let me make this point clear. I hate the word point. Let me make this idea clear. Let's make this idea clear. Remove the word me. That's a style of language that I've been practicing and learning, where we're just taking out all those years and years of classism. Because all that stuff that's in a dictionary is I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you. And when we get to what we absolutely need, if we need to use words, it gets to like Yoda level, like the simplest thing.
Right.
But right now, I'm right, but not right now. But right now, a logo can express and take you, a long way. Rapping on a song can take you a long way. Putting graphics on the side of a shirt can express something. These things, these signifiers of who we are and what we're down with. But I definitely envision a world where we don't have to have these signifiers. We don't have to tell people out loud who we voted on. That can be something private. That we don't have to, let me go ahead and be Christian Dad for a second, have, basically soft porn on the front of every, on everyone's page.
Right. Website, catalog cover.
Website. We don't have to use that to sell clothes.
Right.
And maybe I'm right, but maybe that's not right now.
So you guys, underlying your work, you both want to change the world. I'd love for you guys to talk a little bit about, if you will, some stories of things that you're involved in.
I think the difference is that I'm inspiring to, but this man has already done it.
Truth.
This guy has helped shape culture. There's nobody more influential in fashion and culture than this guy, at least in the last 2 decades. So thank you for putting me there with him. But this is the man right here.
But what Danny's done with manufacturing, he made the top manufacturing in America and in the world. And, when people in manufacturing, people that work in clothing, they say the biggest threat to America is Chinese manufacturing and us not having domestic manufacturing. And you see this example right here where there's something different. It's literally like one of those things where it feels like everything is like wrong in the world, and then you see like a 6-year-old help a older lady across the street,
Right.
and it gives you hope for where the world is going. And that's the feeling that we got, the feeling of aspiration and hope through the truth of industry, not a promise. Not someone just promising year after year, election after election, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, but someone that is doing exactly this and doing it pretty under the radar. I've never seen Danny. I've seen him communicate with maybe 40 people or something. I've never seen him change his voice. I've never seen him change the use of his words and where he places his words to influence in any way. And that is a goal of mine. And I think I don't like when people say you should, but it's a goal of mine, and I influence people. It'll end up becoming goals of others to be the maximum version of who we are. Be in this video game of life, be your maximum character of who you are, and that's where your ultimate happiness will arrive.
You know, one thing I want to touch on, because this is something like we've talked about. There's many different paths to get to a certain destination, but being aligned on that destination and, you know, Aloe with Aloe's values, getting people into yoga, getting them into Shavasana, getting them into that meditative state to really show people and teach people how to control their minds and to amplify their positive subconscious and to suppress their negative subconscious. And that's a really important thing. I mean, you know, for one, something that Ye has had to learn to do, you know, on his own, but that we all have to learn to do. We've talked about, you know, kids on, you know, iPads at 2 years old and with, you know, cell phones and social media and video games and all of these ways we need to give people an outlet on how to deal, you know, with their minds. And today I was saying, hey, I'm a big believer in digital, and we were talking about digital, and he has started his own school already. I don't know if the listeners know that.
Well, we're on our third year, but we're leaning into people in industry like Danny who understand how to organize our next systems. You know, schools are systems, politics, cities are systems, and for us to simplify and embrace certain things. Like one of the things, it was this room where they do fittings, and the table was really like 2 feet wide and 6 inches long. And I said, why is this table shaped like that? And they said, well, all they need is room for the laptop. And I was like, oh, we got to put that in the schools. To have a school that instead of saying turn the phones off and turn the laptops and iPads